I want to talk a bit about this word enough. So I believe enough, or rather not enough, is really the core problem that we have as a human being. Not enoughness is the core reason, first of all, why you are unhappy, you're unsatisfied with yourself and about yourself, and is really the engine of the modern society. And the core driver for this personal growth and personal development movement. And I fell also in the trap of not enoughness, and I continue to do so. But I want to explain here, after I did some investigation, why I believe this word is so peculiar, so necessary, and yet so detrimental when it comes down to projects like being happy in life and fulfilled. So enough typically relates to some sort of quantity, right? It's linked typically to material possessions. If you don't have enough food to eat, you will die. So there's not necessarily a problem there. Accumulating resources is what took us to this point. The drive to never stop accumulating stuff is still running our society, our lives, in a way. The problem with enough comes when we attach it to who we are. And I want to investigate with you a very subtle nuance here. Because I make the case that whenever you feel bad about yourself, this is typically caused by some unconscious identification with a negative identity statement, right? I am not something enough. I am not smart enough, right? I am not good looking enough. I am not rich enough. I'm not enough in itself, right? I'm not worthy enough. So these negative identity statements are the cause of human suffering, because whenever we condition ourselves and our natural human needs like happiness and fulfillment and peace of mind, when we condition them on top of some future project that we have to first engage into in order, to finish that, so that we can be after the fact enough or better, then we are doomed, and we are fooling ourselves into playing this rigged game ultimately with the rules that have been made by some Homo sapiens some hundred of thousand years ago, with the primal need for survival, right? Not enoughness is at the core of our human need to survive and accumulate more stuff. But when in the process of accumulating more and having more, we are literally losing ourselves there, because we take ourselves as an object and as a package in this whole project, in this whole adventure of accumulating stuff, that we put our identity, we put who we are there in the bundle, right? I am not good enough, ultimately, means that I am not worthy enough. Because if I were good enough, then I would not have a problem. But if I'm not good enough, then I have to have problems. And those problems come from me accepting myself based on what I believe others believe about me. I talked about this in a previous video. The fact that I take my worthiness out of people's projections on me, right? On based on how well my capabilities, my abilities today help them. This is how I evaluate, right? How worthy I am of ultimately my own appreciation and my own love, right? Based on how worthy for them others believe I am. This is an unchecked belief, but if you investigate, this is how it is. This is how we derive our sense of self-worth, which is completely wrong and bad, right? But this is how it goes. So what's the key here? What's the secret? How do we solve this problem? Well, actually there is no problem to solve in the end. Because enough is just a word. Enough is just a concept. It's a construct of the mind. It's a concept talking about a lack, a limitation, something that is not yet complete. And this is the key word here, complete. I need more in order to, right? I need more. It comes down to possessing something more, having more. In order to have more, typically you have to do more. So there is this continuous project in which your mind forces you to engage so that you do more of the things that you need to have first in order to have enough, right? But when it comes down to you being enough, not having enough, but you being enough, there's no project there. Why? Because, spoiler, you are already enough. And that was always the case, and that will always be the case. And that is always the case ultimately, because this kind of statements make sense anyway only in the present tense, only in the present moment. I am enough. And I would dare to even go beyond that and throw here this kind of divine identity, if you want, which is I am, simply. I am. I am is a complete statement. I am doesn't require an attribute in order to be complete. I don't have to follow it with something else. And I am is always true. You are. You are like this today, you are like that tomorrow. You will know more things 1 week from now. You will have forgotten some things 1 week from now. You will be looking differently 1 year from now, right? Longer hair, longer beard, or no beard, if you are a woman, of course. Whatever, right? Different clothes, different look. But in terms of you being as such, you are always. However you are, you are. The very fact that you exist is a proof that you are complete in that moment. And the mind cannot comprehend this, right? The mind cannot live in the present. That's the problem. Words also require us thinking about stuff which happen in the future or in the past. You cannot just think yourself into the present moment, into this moment here, now. You cannot think yourself into it. Your mind pulls you out of it, right? Pulls you into the future where you have to have more things and likely have more so that you can be happier, right? You project happiness into the future. You try to solve conflicts and problems coming from the past that haunt you today, or rather, haunt you still in the mind that you have engaged, in future projects and all sorts of compelling narratives that the mind creates to pull you out of the present moment, right? To pull you out of this ongoing thing that is, however you want to call it, right? This thing here that's happening now, this moment in its complete presence doesn't need attributes as such to exist. Doesn't need attributes. And I'm not saying that you should live in a Zen state your whole life, but recognize the unimprovable quality of this moment, where there are no problems, where there are no fears, no issues, no worries, no things going wrong. Why is that not enough? Why is this not enough? And then, of course, it takes only 5 seconds for your mind to pop in and say, look, man, come on. You cannot watch this shit, right? It's 10 minutes and this guy didn't say anything. Why do you keep watching? Let's do something more exciting. Let's do something better, right? Let's do something more, right? Let's accumulate some more information, some more knowledge, some more whatever, so we can feel, right? So we can feel this artificial feeling of more, right? To alleviate some tension from this moment, which goes nowhere. This guy is not saying anything fulfilling for me, right? It doesn't bring any value. I'm not getting, your mind is forcing you into this vicious cycle of thinking about nothing, ultimately. And I'm not throwing thinking out of the window, right? I'm just pointing it out, that it's impossible for you to not engage in the narratives that your mind forces you to engage in. And those narratives are never about this moment, which is the only thing that exists. This thing, however you want to call it, this existence, this perpetual, ever-changing, everlasting moment that is never the same and yet it's always here, this thing is all there is. And you always are in this moment. I am always and only makes sense in this moment. I am is not something that you can project in the future, right? Whenever you project an I am statement in the future, you are projecting an attribute of the I am, right? I am, and typically starts in the negative. I am not intelligent enough, then it means that I have to do something about it so I can be intelligent enough, right? And there is some sort of project. You have to learn a new skill. You have to certify, for some whatever. In my case, for a new technology. I need to learn more, but I don't really need to, do I? I want to. It's interesting. It's exciting, right? I keep my mind engaged and trained and occupied with stuff that might be interesting for me and exciting for me. But I don't need to do that in order to feel that I am enough. Because me being enough doesn't require me to know stuff. I know it sounds crazy, but it is the case. It only took me 37 years to come to this conclusion, and even today I have to talk to a camera for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours in order to just, burn into my mind and beyond the mind, if possible, some very simple facts about life itself and the human nature. And this is the whole project. This is why I'm talking here. Because I'm not special. I have the same problems. I fall in the same pitfalls like you, like everyone else. I inherit the human condition. I will forget about how natural these things feel to me right now in half an hour when I have to start doing some other things, right? And I have to engage my mind. I have to think about stuff in the past, in the future, in the so-called past and future. I will not think about them as being fictions or illusions. I will just take them for granted as being real things, right? But the more I talk about this, the more you allow yourself to investigate what I'm talking about here, the better an anchor you will have in this present moment where life happens, by the way, happens, right? This I am that is complete in itself. You are complete in every single moment, in each instant. You are. By the very fact and proof that you exist, it means that in that moment you are complete. In that moment when you realize that you are, there is nothing further to improve. If your life would end in any day from now on, any other day, right? No matter when, 1 month from now, 1 week from now, tomorrow, 1 decade, 3 decades, 10 decades, when it will happen, and it will happen, right? You will be enough in that day. That day will contain you as a complete, human work. And then that's it. That's perfection, right? When your life will end, you would have reached perfection for that specific expression of life. Unimprovable anymore, right? By the fact that you live, you are perfection in itself. You are complete in that instant. Otherwise, you could not exist. And I'm saying here about you and your true divine nature, your true identity, your real identity, not the attributes about who you are, not the attributes about what you know or about how you look or about whatever you are doing. I'm talking about you as an identity, you as being, you as a human being. You exist, right? You are. Enoughness in this context is irrelevant because you existing doesn't require, being more or less than, doesn't require comparison, doesn't require judgment, doesn't require thinking at all. Doesn't require thinking. You are. I am. I am. Now I can go on to personal transformation if you want. Now I can take on personal growth and self-development projects. Why? Because I'm not building on moving sand anymore. I take ownership of my journey through this ongoing, perpetual improvement of my human qualities, of my human attributes, knowing and resting in this deep knowing of always being enough as a human being, right? As my divine essence, as my intangible quality, as my deep existence, deep, self, higher self, however we want to call it, as me being part of this, universal consciousness, however you want to call it. I am always complete from that point. And because I am always complete from that point, I can focus my energy and my attention on allowing myself to do whatever changes I want to make without trying to change or force something that I don't feel it's enough regarding to myself and my identity, but rather I improve some sort of quality about my cognition, about my mind, about my skills and my capabilities, right? I take ownership of projects that give me a better understanding in terms of human capabilities about a human object, right? A human phenomenon, something that I can perceive with my senses, something that I can make sense of, right? Related to this world, from this world. The deep being I'm pointing at, this deep anchor on top of which I'm building all the other projects, this anchor doesn't require me just justifying it, doesn't require, understanding it at the descriptive language level. This beingness, the fact that I am, and I'm always complete, that I'm always enough, that I'm always happy, and that I choose to be happy because this is my right, and that I am successful because success simply means for me to be happy and fulfilled with who I am at all times, irrespective of the projects that I still have ongoing. This primordial allowance and acceptance of myself and who I am as a complete work in each moment is the ultimate anchor that I invite you to investigate for yourself. Because if you have this core foundation of you accepting yourself and allowing yourself to be who you are at all times without any kind of rejection, without any kind of implicit, unconscious association to not being enough as a human being, then you can build whatever else on top. But you have a strong foundation. If you are never enough, then you are building on moving sand. Nothing that you will be doing in this life can compensate for you not feeling enough, for you not thinking that you are enough. You are enough. You have always been enough. You will always be enough. Enoughness is something that you can take on as a project where you engage your mind and you learn something about your even your human nature. That's perfectly fine. But there is this component of you who is always enough, who doesn't require change, who doesn't require perfection, who can never be perfect. Perfection is death, right? The moment life gives up on you, in the sense that it's not, entertaining you, it doesn't keep you alive, right? When life doesn't keep you alive anymore, then you are perfect, right? It's a closed project. Is this what you want? Is this what you want to rush towards? This inevitable end? The journey is the destination. The journey is the destination. There is nothing better than the journey. Because the journey is this ongoing process of life transforming you with or without your knowledge or your want. These tens of trillions of cells that are always doing something without your knowledge, this subconscious and unconscious awareness that your body has about, you as a whole and your entirety, and everything else is a mind artifact. It's a concept. It's a powerful thing, of course, because it guides your human becoming. But you have to transcend that and realize that you are more of all the attributes about you at once, accumulated, right? You are more than that. You are also those attributes, but those are the superficial labels that people see and that you can easily see and think about. Deep truth, deep knowing, typically doesn't require words. And this is where the true fulfillment comes from. This is where genuine appreciation of life comes from these deep investigations where you don't need to add labels, where you don't need to add more projects to your life, but rather just sit with what seems like useless stuff, like silence. Sit with silence. Look at the incessant stream of thoughts that just pop into my mind and be curious about your inability to control any of them. Get frustrated, be mad, be confused, be lost again in those thoughts, come back again, do it again and again and again and again, until occasionally your mind will just sit still and will accept to go on this seemingly uninteresting project of listening to silence, of just allowing things to be as they are, of just being, start to make more sense of what does it mean to simply be and not do something about it. And this is the joy of living and experiencing. Happy exploration.